All right, we're going to go back into our newsroom. We want to talk to Jerry McKinstry from Newsday about the local races and how they're shaping up. And of course, we're also hearing that Mitt Romney may be making a concession speech shortly. So what I will ask Jerry is, certainly if we have to cut away to that, we will. But let me ask you first, I want to talk about this Bob Costelli race. This looks like the one incumbent who may not be reelected tonight. Are you surprised by this?
Yes, I am surprised, but I think what it shows is that President Obama has very long coattails, and that the large turnout, a large Democratic turnout, did not favor Bob Costelli. So I think Mr. Buchwald, he's a White Plains City Councilman. He has some notoriety, but I think the turnout really favored the Democrat in this race.
Let me ask you about Latimer and Cohn. Again, do you think the same thing there, a 10% lead for Mr. Latimer with 88% of the precincts reporting? We thought this one was going to be a lot closer, did we not?
Yes, we did. I thought this was going to be one of those razor-thin margin races where we don't know for a few days. Maybe it goes to court, maybe they recount. So it appears that George Latimer has a pretty good lead at this point. I spoke to a Republican source of mine. They said it's not looking good at the moment. Clearly, you know, George Latimer has a good lead. It's a good lead at this hour, and I would say that again, I think it probably helped that the president did so well in Westchester and New York.
We talked about that earlier, Jerry. We weren't so sure about the coattail effects, but now it does appear, certainly we know President Obama has been re-elected. Let me ask you again, it's only 11:37. We thought we wouldn't know. We said maybe by midnight, and if we didn't know by midnight, we probably wouldn't know for a while. But hey, this one is decided. It's President Obama gets 4 more years.
That's right. I'm quite surprised it happened so early. I mean, we've been hearing, you know, the polls have been so close, the national polls, individual state polls have been, you know, within a point or two. You know, if I was betting, you know, a national number, I would say we wouldn't have known before midnight, and here we are, was, you know, just a little bit after 11. So I guess you know, the race is determined a little bit sooner than we expected.
Jerry, I got certainly Lawrence Otis Graham and Tony Sayegh to tell me, you know, what they thought and why they think that Obama pulled this out. Let me ask you, you have been watching this race. Newsday has certainly been monitoring the presidential race as well. Again, this was a president who promised change, did not deliver on as much as he promised, and again was facing the unemployment rates, the concern about the health care issue, not moving the economy along. He promised when he got in office that he'd, you know, change things in a year or two. 4 years later, he was apologizing for not getting it all done, but saying, give me 4 more years. Well, the American people, at least 51% of the American people, said we're going to give you 4 more years. Are you surprised by that?
You know, throughout the campaign, I've kind of gone back and forth of where this, you know, where the race would end up. You know, if you asked me a few weeks ago when, you know, Romney was picking up steam, you know, I talked to a lot of Republicans and a lot of people, and they said, you know, he could perhaps pull this out. You know, but it seemed to go back and forth on a day-to-day basis. You know, the quick answer is no, I'm not all that surprised. He is the incumbent. A lot of voters I've talked to said, you know, he needs a little bit more time. You know, they're willing to give him that, obviously. And, you know, again, many said that he was just facing unprecedented challenges.
All right, Jerry, and again, we're getting ready to hear from Mitt Romney. What do you think Romney did wrong?
Well, certainly having you know, covered the race, gone to the convention, the Republican convention, you know, I think he just didn't really set out a lot of specifics. I mean, he was hammered over and over again about not being specific on his tax plan, on, you know, where he stood on certain issues, you know, and I think perhaps that you know, that might have you know, harmed him in the long run. You know, it's hard to know. Individual voters have, you know, different feelings. You know, the one thing I did realize in talking to a lot of people about this is I think voters generally trusted both President Obama and Mitt Romney. I think they both thought they were, you know, good men, good people, but their policies are vastly different, and I think it was a little bit harder to nail down Mitt Romney's policies than, you know, what Barack Obama's were.
We're looking at the Romney headquarters. They're waiting for Mitt Romney to come out. He's apparently getting set to make a concession speech in just a few moments. And for all of those supporters, the people who were so strongly behind Mitt Romney, what does President Obama have to do now to unite this country, Jerry? Because there's a clear line of demarcation here.
You know, he's got to reach out to the Congress. I mean, I think the story tomorrow and after is, the Congress has got to get to work, and the President has to use his position as a leader to, set the agenda, to reach out to, Republicans in the Congress and make sure they get to work. Because really, whoever was elected tonight, it's not just the job of the President, it's the job of the Congress and the President, and the two of these, these two branches have to work together to get things done.
Jerry, we're hearing that the Democrats did hold on to the U.S. Senate, that the Democrats retain the majority in the U.S. Senate. Again, it looks like the Republicans will control the House of Representatives. But to your point, that's the same as it's been the last 4 years. The President has to do something to, again, bring everybody together and get things done, does he not?
He absolutely does, and I think he has to implore them to get together for this country's sake. I mean, we're facing, you've heard a lot about the fiscal cliff. Well, this is coming up, and it's coming up fast, where, certain, taxes are set to expire, spending decreases are set to kick in, and many economists say that those could put us right back into a recession. So if there's politics, and we all know that politics is part of this, and it's a big part of it, but now we got to get back to governing, and this is where the President has to make his case, sit down with congressional leaders, and just say, look, we've got to get something done, we've got to get people back to work, and we've got to get this economy moving.
Yeah, how do you think Wall Street responds to all of this tomorrow morning, Jerry?
My gut is that Wall Street was going to respond well to a decisive decision, or an election and a result. I think certainly my sense is they probably would have preferred a Republican, but the fact that he's reelected, Wall Street has to again get back to work as well. So that might be good.
All right, Jerry McKinstry in the newsroom, thank you. We're going to get back to you in a few moments, Jerry.